Guys, we got about 3 inches of rain yesterday. And look what we were able to get going last week. It's a nice, cool, brisk morning here in Texas this morning after a deluge of rain most of the day yesterday. Last weekend we were able to get our cantaloupes and our watermelons planted. Our little grandson came out and helped us, and so just in time for the rain, and they're looking fantastic. Thank the Lord for that. But guess what? We are zipping up to, I guess, around mid-80 today, and then tomorrow we start hitting 89, 90 degrees, and that's the way it's going to be for the next week. So we are rushing in now to summertime temps after we've had this wonderful, cool, wet spring. So why did we leave the cover crop around our melons and stuff that we got planted? A couple of reasons. Number one, because we want these oats to die off and continue strengthening our soil. It's working. It's making it much more workable. It's fortifying it, and it's putting back some of the natural microbiome that the soil needs to be successful back here on this back acre. Because, you know, our property, I've lived here about 20 years, and our property was actually farmland, and there's no telling what was in the soil. So it's really cleaning out the soil and bringing the good things to our plants that we need. And so what Greg will do is, as it dies off, and it's starting to, you can see, he'll come out here and mow and blow, and that will strengthen it even more. We don't want to pull it up. We don't want to till it up because it's got all the good stuff in the roots of these oats. So these, I believe, are our French Petite cantaloupes. And you can see it's a muddy mess. I've got on my new High boots. I like these because they don't have treads on the bottom. So the mud doesn't stick up into the treads. So when I get them cleaned off, they're cleaned off because I walk in and out of the house, guys. And we are so rough on our floors here, going in and out of these gardens in this mud. So I like them. I can get out here and walk. I'm not really sinking very much because there's not a lot of treads on it. It's like I'm walking. Oop, whoop, nope, I started sinking right there. Look at there. So, yes, these are our French Petite, and these are our golden melons, I think. Hearts of gold melons. We had a very small window to get these planted, and that was on Sunday because we did get rain on Monday, and I think it's rained a little bit each day, except maybe I think Wednesday and Thursday. We looked real good, but boy, we are getting the rain. It looks like we're going to dry out, and we really, really need to, and I'll tell you why here in just a second. So we're getting some sunny days to dry out, and now I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you a good example, and I'm going to explain what many of you in the South, because we're all dealing with it right now, especially in Texas, having trouble with our tomato plants because of all the rain, is you're starting to see, or we, and you are too probably, are starting to see spider mites. And what brings these spider mites in is that your tomatoes have wet feet. And what that means is it's just flat, too much water, and we've had cloudy days, and so the photosynthesis cycle is not happening. And so your nitrogen in your soil, your nitrates, are turning to ammonium, and it takes about 48 hours for that to start taking place after your plants have been wet for a long time. Greg says you'll see it as soon as 48 hours, maximum 3 days is when you'll start seeing some pretty serious damage. So what's happening is the soil is so wet, it is the plant is not able to take the nitrogen, which normally what it would do, or the nitrates, and cycle it through the plant every 24 hours. Well, when you have wet feet, it converts it to ammonium, and we've got to have sunlight. We've got to have sunlight and photosynthesis to start converting that back. Now, to get rid of them, you might want to use some insecticidal soap, and then get some EM1, which is the effective microbes, and use CalMag, and you want to do a foliar spray when you start to see this so that your plant starts to uptake, because when it happens, when the ammonium starts to take over in your plant, that's all it's absorbing, it also locks out the calcium that you need, and you will get blossom end rot. And so that's what causes a lot of the blossom end rot. So if you're starting to see the spider mites on your tomato plants or any other plant, you need to let them dry out. You need to let the feet dry out so that it can start converting back its nitrogen. And thank the Lord, we're going to have about 5 sunny days here in a row. We're going to be hot again, like I said. And so it's going to start processing things normally. So Greg has done the EM foliar spray and done some calcium and magnesium to try to start converting things back. But we can't water for a while, guys. We've got to let these plants dry out at the feet. It's wet feet. But once you let it dry out, you're going to have to reintroduce water slowly, and you're going to have to get on a good watering schedule because if you water too much, once they dry out, you're going to get, your fruits are going to start splitting because your fruits are going to start taking on that water, and they're just going to pop. They're just going to burst. So for those of you here in the South where we're getting lots of rain, you want to let your tomato plants start to dry out. If you're starting to see disease, you want to apply an EM1 CalMag spray foliar. Be sure and follow the directions, but that should help you. Now, if you have an infestation, you may want to pull that plant. But if you have slight, you might want to use some insecticidal soap to knock them back until you can get those plants dried out. So just spraying is not what you need to do to kill them off, guys, because if you don't fix the solution in your soil and at the feet of your plant, they're just going to keep coming back. So you need to understand your soil, and you need to understand what's truly happening when you start to see insect damage. That's what's going on when you're starting to see spider mites. Now, once we get into July and everything is hot and dry, guess what? The same process can happen with extremely dry temperatures in the soil. So again, your watering schedule is very important. You're gonna have to really test your soil before you water. Make sure your plants truly need it, and don't get a wonky schedule. Don't go water and then wait 5 or 6 days and then, you need to go water. You need to get on a good watering schedule. So my tomatoes here in the little high tunnel, we have a little bit better control over because we built the soil up, and we're gonna have to do that in that big high tunnel before next year. Us walking around in there and us planting and us harvesting, we beat the soil down. And in here, we were able to build up the soil, and we're not necessarily walking around these plants. So we're able to control it a little bit better, so we're not seeing any kind of spider mite issue in here. Now, we did start to see a little bit of the brown spots, and you're gonna treat it the same way. You might add a little bit of copper spray, or get you a brown spot spray. We use organic, so be sure and check out your sprays that you're using and your feeds and your fertilizers. But yeah, so far in here, these plants are looking just fine. We're getting some jalapenos in here. Some of this also may go for your squash. When you start to see the blossom end rot on your squash, you know that you're having a problem uptaking your calcium. And so you might want to let them dry out a little bit and give them a little bit of adversity to help them rebound back. But again, these need sunshine too. And in fact, all of our plants need sunshine. And that's one of the reasons why we don't prune back our tomato plants very heavily like you see. And I've seen being done over the last couple of years, is because you really need your foliage to get that photosynthesis going and for your plant to be able to absorb that beautiful sunlight. There's a big old tomato in there. So this is why we do regenerative gardening, and this is part of it, is understanding what's going on with your plant and its soil, instead of just using insecticides or sprays to knock things back. That's just going to come back if you don't change your soil and if you don't change some of your feeding habits and some of your watering habits. So that's why we don't use shade cloths. I know a lot of you say you use shade cloths on your high tunnels or on your gardens, but in these high tunnels, if you put shade cloth on there, it's going to kind of inhibit some of the photosynthesis and the sunlight that gets through, so it's going to slow down your recovery process. And Greg is very stern that he'll let me put shade cloth on mine, but he will not put shade cloth on his, because he really believes that we have to have that sunlight. Now, we have 2 layers of this UV plastic on these high tunnels, so that's already inhibiting a little bit of it. We don't really want to inhibit it too much more. Holy fanoli. Look at how my sweet potatoes and my bush beans have just exploded just in the last week. And I bet I'm gonna have some to plant, or to pick, I'm sorry, here in the next day or two, and Yes, sirree. It looks like we are. And I've got some over here too. And this biggin, I can't wait to see what sweet potatoes we get this year. I'm hoping it fills this thing up. Let's look over here. Look at all this. See all this water, guys? Man, I know a lot of you are needing it. And you know what? I'm not going to complain about it. We just have to learn to adapt and to change what's going on in the garden. Let's see if we got some green beans down here. Oh, we sure do. And I know there's some more in here. So I'll be able to pick probably at least 3 times off these plants in here. But I see a pot of green beans in our future. And look what we have picked this week. Unbelievable, guys. We are about 2 weeks ahead of where we were this time last year on harvesting our tomatoes. What I just shared with you, Greg says is cutting edge technology. He calls them gold nuggets. We're dropping some gold nuggets for you guys to help you understand, especially a lot of us here in North Texas, even in South Texas, East Texas. I know you guys are having some issues with your tomatoes. I'm getting emails from you, I'm getting texts, and even people that have bought some of our plants here that have them outside. This rain is just really knocking them back and creating disease and creating insect issues. So start looking into these things, guys. Start understanding your soil. Start understanding your plants. Don't just treat the symptom. You need to treat the disease. You need to treat whatever's happening, and it's in your soil. And that's why we believe in living soil. So got to get to picking some tomatoes. I think I'm going to open up the market tomorrow because we are getting quite a few, and we are so thankful. We just got to get things back under control, and this good old sunshine that's coming up right now is going to give us a great deal of help. Thank you all for watching. If you are new to the channel, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, because I tell you what, we're learning and we're sharing all kinds of great things to help us all grow our own food. God bless you all. Love you.